Netherlands v Germany is still a massive game because there's an added frisson of the fact that Netherlands hate Germany and Germany pretend not to care, but they also hate Netherlands.
It's not like it used to be, of course. Time is a great healer.
What, you mean saliva and afros?
Or Koeman wiping his arse with the German flag.
Did he?
Euro 88, I think he did that.
That is sensational. And is that why you love him?
I'm pretty sure he did that.
Is that why you love him, or is it just separate to that?
Just because he's a wonderfully Dutch man. Like, he's the type of guy that... You know, like at school when people, if you were playing football and whip your shorts down, all that kind of nonsense. Yeah. If you did that with Koeman and he was completely Billy Bollocks, he would put his hands on his hips and he'd stand there and go, right, if you don't put them back up, I'm totally calm and fine about this.
Is it giving me energy of that your mate's dad who came in and asked for a bit of the Easter egg? Is it the same guy? Same energy, right? Isn't it? Tell people remind people about that.
Yeah,
because it's giving me the same energy as that.
We've spoken about this on Uncut before, but let's
remind people of it.
I was going to say, it's not around Uncut. No, I was around with mates. I don't know. I'd be about 9 years old. My mate was a couple of years younger, so he'd be about 7 or 8 at the time. And it was just gone Easter. We'd had Easter, and his dad just emerged in the room and just went, "George, any chance to get a piece of this egg?"
And also, I can imagine Koeman doing that.
Yeah,
not in the Scottish accent.
I think Koeman would tell you that he's taking the egg. That's the difference. He's a man with a lot of authority.
That's true.
Definitely, yeah.
That's true. Oh, dear.
So apparently, according to producer Finn, Ronald Koeman swapped shirts with West Germany's Olaf Thon, great player. He played in World Cup.
Oh, there you go.
And then wiped his bum with it.
Joe, it wasn't the flag, it was the shirt. Which,
as bad.
I don't know if it's that worse, maybe. Your fellow pro you've just played.
I think the sentiment is the same, isn't it?
Yeah. And so obviously, Koeman sort of graduated to picking his nose and licking his fingers in the Euros this summer.
We don't want to hear about
it. Well, he did do it.
It's the derby of managers picking things and sniffing them.
Exactly.
Well, there you are.
Yeah. How the mighty has fallen.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's not the face-off between Netherlands and Germany. We're looking at it's between Bergwijn and Ronald Koeman. So Steven Bergwijn was chucked out the Dutch squad. I say chucked out. He wasn't picked for the Dutch.
He was unceremoniously binned.
That makes it sound like every player is summoned, and then some of them are banished.
Ronald Koeman chucked Steven Bergwijn in the back of his Cadillac and drove him to the county line and dropped him off.
Yeah.
And said, I don't want to see you back here.
Sod off.
Yeah, because he went to Saudi Arabia, right?
That's right. So Koeman said that he would be dropped, and Bergwijn responded by saying, "You don't treat players like that. I've always considered it an honour to play for the Dutch team, but under this coach, I no longer want that. I am done with someone who deliberately portrays me like this in the media." So, you know, there's no love lost there. I mean, Koeman did say about Bergwijn, the book is basically closed to him. He knows what I think about this. When you are 26, your main sporting ambition should not be financial. But Koeman drew a line under things on Friday and said, "I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't affect me at all," as he said with his bollocks out.
Yeah, tickling his own nuts at the time. He was.
"I talked about sporting ambition, and I don't think I said much more than that. If I had said that I think it was a sporting step, that would have been unbelievable. Let's not make it bigger than it is. I said something that I back up. I said good day."
Yeah. So round the table then, just say Bergwijn or Koeman. I'll go Jim first, then you, Marcus, then I'll come to me. Are you team Bergwijn or Koeman on this?
Koeman all day.
It's got to be Koeman.
I'm Koeman as well.
Yeah.
Because
but only because it's, you know, the smarter money's on Koeman.
Yeah, I mean,
Koeman has won this.
Bergwijn has made himself look silly by saying, "Oh, I'm done with this team." It's like, no, you've been dropped.
Well, done with
it's been made clear that you are not eligible.
Yeah, that's a bit silly. I mean, Bergwijn is 26 and has featured quite a lot for the Netherlands, as we know. I mean, look, he's crying out loud. He was playing in the Premier League not that long ago. So it. But it is that.
Well, he was a victim of the lack of exorcism at Spurs, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Technically, he had a very good time of it at PSV. He went to Spurs for pretty big money, you know, 25, 30 million, something like that. And then it didn't really happen for him. His kind of time that never really achieved liftoff. Went to Ajax. Did pretty well again. And you know, I think
even though Ajax are not really firing on all cylinders.
No, but I think he became captain at some point.
Yeah, but captain of like a bad Ajax side. I think that's a fair point, Marcus.
Yeah, fair enough.
But 35 international caps as well.
Yeah, and then he's gone to Saudi Arabia.
Do you think Jordan Henderson told him to go?
Could have done. Could have said, "Look, you can change it from the inside," and then give up after a bit and come home again. But here's my take on it.
Go on.
It is perfectly acceptable under the way that football works and the way the world is these days, it seems, for Steven Bergwijn to go and earn loads of money in Saudi Arabia to play football, right? Can't stop him doing that. He's chosen to do that. These players have to understand there are ramifications for that. And it is farcical to suggest that the Saudi Pro League is anywhere near the standard of even the Dutch league, and anywhere near the level that Ronald Koeman, I think, rightly decides that you need to be at to be able to perform competitively at an international level. We all know international football is not as high as the very, very top club football in the world, but it is still up there. And I think whether Ronald Koeman is making a kind of political statement by not picking him or whatever, and we had this big old ding-dong back in the day about Henderson, as you've alluded to there, Marcus, but even just for sporting reasons, it's perfectly acceptable for him to say, look, we're Netherlands. We've got loads of good players. We always produce players. I don't want to be carting my way down to Al-Ittihad every so often to see how you're getting on. You're going to be playing a Farmers League, so what's the point? And I think he's approached it in a typically Dutch way, because, I mean, I suppose what he could say, because what he's done, Koeman, is he's made it almost personal, hasn't he? He could have said, look, anyone who plays in the Saudi League is, in my estimation, as the manager of the national team, not playing at a high enough level every week to be considered.
Unless your name's Gini Wijnaldum.
Yeah, well, but he can't do that because of Wijnaldum. But he also chose to make it about Bergwijn, because I think he's personally disappointed that he's chosen to do that.
And he said that, actually. He mentioned Wijnaldum, who's 33, and he said, look, at the age he is, that's fine for him to go there, kind of
that
thing.
Experience
he's like,
is sort of calcified, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
Koeman knows what he's going to get from him if he needs to call on him.
Yeah, I mean, talking of...
I should say that Wijnaldum isn't actually in the current Dutch squad, though.
Right.
But
he did address that.
He's not played since Euro 2024.
Right, but he did address that, though, just in case, when he was talking about why he was particularly disappointed in Bergwijn going there, rather than mentioning Wijnaldum. But how about this, though, to bring in a couple of other players who have gone to the Saudi Pro League? Because Ruben Neves said that his and Ronaldo's performances against Scotland proved the quality of the Saudi Pro League is up there.
Oh, well, that changes everything.
Yeah. It's nonsense.
Did Ronaldo tell Ruben to say that?
Yeah, well, it's nonsense to suggest that.
He was actually physically moving his jaw. And I think Ronaldo was actually saying it himself.
Yeah. Right, okay. I mean, look, the point is, though, it's like, we know the amount of money, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, look, Ivan Toney's gone as well. It just fills you with disappointment.
Ivan Toney will not be in the England squad as long as he's in Saudi Arabia. It's simple as that. It won't happen. It just won't happen. Because they don't need to pick him.
And you're right about the competition, and that's the thing, isn't it? Whoever else is under consideration has the advantage of essentially just playing at a high level. So they're gonna just leap ahead of you.
I mean, do you think this is a tool to look at it from Bergwijn's point of view, or at least the footballing side of things, if that's even relevant? Do you think it is a touch harsh? Because you are playing, you're playing in a league now with a few other better players in there. Obviously, some of the big names we know. We've seen players, and they are kind of special examples. They're not the norm, that have gone on and played with their national sides and actually done quite well when they've been in poor leagues or the twilights of the career or this, that, and the other, whatever. Do you think there's any kind of room for thinking actually Bergwijn's been a little bit hard done by here?
Well, I think not really, because I do think look, it depends how you approach it. If Saudi Arabia are looking to invest in football because they think it can be an amazing sport for their citizens and it can really improve their lives and it can genuinely bring up the whole country, and before you know it, you've got academies everywhere and players coming through, and they're developing all these amazing Saudi Arabian players, and they're sprinkling it with foreign players the same way the Premier League did back in the day, same way MLS has done, etc., etc. I think there's an argument probably in like 15, 20 years' time that clearly it's possible for people to assess the quality of a league. There's coefficients, all that kind of stuff as well. If Saudi Arabia becomes a decent competitive league, my moral opinion is put to one side. It becomes a sporting decision. And if we accept Saudi Arabia into the wider international community in that way, and the league becomes really good, then I mean, fine. I mean, it's not really my concern, I suppose. I would be against it. I wouldn't agree with it, but I think it's a much easier decision for the manager to make. But I also think, as we sit here right now, Steven Bergwijn in the pomp of his career, at his peak age, has chosen to go and do that, and he's chosen to go and do that for money. Yeah. That's as simple as that. So the sacrifice that he makes is an international manager who's volatile, who's got his own strong opinions, not vibing with it. And that's just the calculation you have to make. Ivan Toney would have had to make the same calculation, right?
And from the point of view of an international manager, how can you assess the level that your player is going to be at when they come back if you can only kind of watch them against a much, much lower level? It's going to be different on a sort of individual case by case basis, but how you assess that is essentially impossible unless you kind of get a look at them up close in training.
Yeah.
And in that case, you may well be denying someone else a chance who is playing at a higher level and more deserving of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, this is going to be it's now a question for international managers.
Definitely.
It is. They're going to have to
It's not
answer
going
all the
away,
time.
is it?
But some international managers clearly say, I don't know, for example, a Brazilian manager, they're used to picking players from
All over the place.
from their point of view,
Yeah.
far-flung leagues, whether it be in Europe or whatever. So perhaps in some places it may not be as pertinent. But still, the question is there. Is this league good enough?
Yeah, and I think it also, you touched on it earlier, but it's also Wijnaldum point you made. It can be about the player itself and the experience level and what that player's bringing. And if you're looking for someone like an old, because Suarez we talked about yesterday, right?
Yeah.
He's playing in MLS and he's just retired from international duty, but he was playing for Uruguay while he was in MLS for Inter Miami. Yeah, there's an argument there, I think, to say the manager maybe makes a calculation and says, look, as long as he's sharp, as long as he's fit, he can bring me something. And that's probably, joking aside, what Martinez thinks about Cristiano Ronaldo. Right? We know we're not learning anything new about Cristiano Ronaldo. If he's hitting his numbers and he's there still sharp enough, he can do something. That's a slightly different calculation. But you're right, international managers. I mean, Lee Carsley's going to have to make that decision about Ivan Toney. He's probably already made it, and I doubt we'll see Toney anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that's the sacrifice these players make. It's up to them, isn't it?
Well, staying with the Dutch squad, if we can, unlike Bergwijn. Did you see that Wout Weghorst stormed off during training after a late tackle from Jurrien Timber?
Justin Timbers.
Yeah, Justin Timbers.
I mean, that's pretty rich for Wout Weghorst, who spends his entire time leading the line, piling into people over and over again.
That moment against England when John Stones looked at him,
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Like, it was so wrong sport.
Yeah.
But apparently Koeman had to be peacemaker, a role
Mate,
which
that's
he's
when you know you're in
unfamiliar with.
trouble. Right, go get the nuts out again.
Oh dear. Yeah, it was reported that Koeman separated them and told them, I said something to you, I said something to them. Weghorst continued to express his frustration, to which Koeman replied, and now it's over.
What he said was, he got his nuts out, and he said to Timber, see this left nut, that's you.
Yeah.
And Weghorst, see this my right bollock, that's you. And you've got to learn to live in this sack together.
Yeah, but remember, the big boy's above you.
I'm in the middle.
Dear.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So but an intriguing fixture is always Netherlands v Germany.
I think we've previewed it pretty well, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think they'll be very happy.
Yeah.
And of course, Germany have got some handy players.
Yeah.
Well, they both scored 5 goals in their last games.
There you
They
go.
did. They are something to hang your hat on there, football fans.
Something to look out for in between all the rows.
Yeah, but Germany battered Hungary though, and Hungary don't often get battered.
Oh.
No, that's true.
So,
Well, in fact, they battered England at home not that long ago.
they did, yeah. After we battered them,
Was it at Molineux?
it was.
Yeah,
It
weirdly.
feels a long time ago.
Yeah.
It does indeed. Non-league football, of course, has been carrying on over the week, and they never stop.
No.
They never stop.
They're taking centre stage, you could say.
Absolutely right. That's the real stuff,
Along with League One, League Two.
and that's also real stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's all real, everybody. It didn't go too well for Folkestone Invicta down in the 7th tier. They lost 3-0 to Billericay, which we've heard about Billericay over the years, of course. Well, this was not helped after the Folkestone striker Tom Derry got sent off for kicking the opposition goalkeeper over a game of piggy in the middle, which he was not.
He wasn't
wanting to
enjoying them
partake
taking the
in.
piss out of him,
It
was
was
he?
hilarious. So he wanted the ball back.
But I don't know why, because the player was still getting treatment.
There was a player getting so the game couldn't. You can't
Continue
get
anyway.
Yeah, you can't sort of take a quick free kick or whatever he wanted to do. But he wanted the ball back. So the Billericay defender and goalkeeper just started knocking the ball over him, playing the piggy, but wouldn't give it back to him. So we went up and obviously did the only honourable thing and studded the goalkeeper on the thigh.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was an extraordinary piece.
Started
of
wrestling
footage.
with him on the floor
It
trying
was
to get the ball back
just
as well.
ridiculous, though. As you
Yeah.
say, like, what could he have done with it? And also, if you don't want to be in the middle of that, just walk away.
Yeah, no, that's not what it's about, because he wanted the ball, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it's purely a pride thing there.
Yeah.
He's not enjoyed them taking the piss out of him at all.
Speaking of lower league football, let's go to Italy, where SSD Agarola of the Italian 5th tier had an odd start to their season. The club's president, Nicola Acamporo, delivered the match ball by throwing it out of a helicopter.
Nice.
Big time!
While,
Nice.
so Agarola is in Naples or near Naples, so in that part of Italy.
Yeah.
And when the ball comes out, quite an 80s looking helicopter actually.
Which is what you want.
Yeah, the ball comes flying out. the great thing, there's a couple of good things about it. One is the helicopter doesn't really stop.
No.
It just carries on, someone just chucks it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's...
Like an Amazon delivery.
Yeah,
Did he see someone in the crowd? He didn't want to... Oh, there he is. Keep going.
There was no crowd. and secondly, it was all done to the tune of Life is Live by whoever it is who sings that, the famous Diego Maradona Naples.
La, la,
yeah,
la, la.
Who does sing that? I'm going to find out.
Opus, they're called.
Yeah, Austrian rock band Opus.
Of course it is. Thanks to Peter for sending us that, by the way.
What, our friend Peter?
Not him, no.
Positive Peter?
Not him.
Beetlejuice?
No.
Diggory Donaldson?
No.
Another Peter?
Yeah, it was another one of the Beatles.
Have we told our Peter about that? Has he signed it off?
Well, we don't call him Peter, do we?
I do sometimes.
Oh, do you?
He always introduces himself as Peter, doesn't he? Have you noticed that?
That is, yeah, he's just started, yeah.
For
It's a bit like when Andy says, I'm Andrew.
No, he doesn't.
I know
He doesn't.
Only on Sky Sports. Now, staying in Italy in lower leagues, Italian sixth-tier side Subiano had their coach sent off at the weekend after he ran on the pitch to tackle an opposing player.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Glorious stuff. The player's running through and goal. He tackles him. But the thing is, like own what you do. Tackle him and go, well, yeah. But he tackles him, he puts his hands up and says, sorry, I'm so... Look, I really... As if he didn't mean to do it, as if it was an accident.
I read
Nonsense.
that differently. To me, the way he holds his hand up, it's like he's saying, look, I had no choice. You'd have done the same thing. I had no choice. You know I had no choice. I accept the punishment, but what else could I have done? And as you touched on earlier, not that.
Yeah. The video is posted on Reddit, and one of the comments refers to him running on as a geriatric shuffle, which is actually true because he takes him ages. It's surprising he can actually catch up with the guy.
It reminds me of that five-a-side football tournament we once played in London, Luke, where you cynically fouled a man who ran through on goal, and you took your red card, and he was too quick for me.
He was too quick.
He's just too quick for me.
We won that final, didn't we?
We won the game.
I sacrificed myself.
Yeah.
And we won the final.
Lucky old
Asamoah Gyan missed the penalty and we were away.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bit like that.
And you find I scored the goal, Jim.
Yeah.
Coming up in the second half, we look ahead to England versus Finland. See you in a moment.
They played in the same play style as Queen's Park Raisins. You don't have to do that because then you please Queen's Park Raisins.
Oh, welcome back to the Football Ramble.
I forgot about Queen's Park Raisins.
I did as well. It's nice to be reminded of it.
Do you prefer that, or do you prefer Marcelo Bielsa trying to say Ipswich?
I prefer raisins.
Yeah, I prefer raisins because I can't even hear the word Ipswich without my brain then going Ipswich.
But he didn't speak much English, whereas Van Gaal, like if you'd have said, no, it's Queen's Park Rangers, I'm sure he'd have gone, no. And corrected you. Right. Right. We're just 10 days away from the biggest live show we've ever done, everybody. Bloody hellfire. I don't know if we've mentioned it or not. It definitely isn't our first live show. We're bloody pros at this. We don't act like it. But we have done a fair few.
Apart from when we're on stage.
Everyone's talking about live podcasts now, and we've been doing it since 2014.
2014 we did our first ever.
Admittedly, with a 5-year break in between.
Yeah, but we've been all over.
That was, we needed to, because of that.
Well, we needed to let everyone else catch up, didn't we?
And there was COVID.
And take care of the sort of the legal stuff that happened after that. But our first live show was ahead of the 2014 World Cup, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Roy Hodgson was firmly in charge of England.
In the hot seat. And we thought, what better way to celebrate?
He had his little talons right.
He was firmly on the perch.
Right in.
He was perched on the England branch.
What a lot of people don't know about our very first live show in 2014 at the Arcola Theatre in East London is that, so we're sitting in a 4 formation, 2 and 2.
Yeah.
And just
one bank of 4.
Yeah, exactly. Just off of Marcus's seat was like when you go to like an owl sanctuary, there's like a perch, and Roy was there the whole thing, just looking around, nodding.
We had to keep the lights bright so he wouldn't wake up.
So we can confirm exclusively here that for the show on Friday, September 20th, Roy Hodgson will be appearing.
Yeah, but we can't do, because it's incredible, really, isn't it? Think of it. Of 10 years on from the Arcola, we're now doing the London Palladium. Like, it was obviously a different class of venue, so they won't let us have Roy flying about the place and stuff because there's probably
we'll have to clip his wings.
We have to literally clip his wings.
Yeah.
So it would be a bit of a shame. I mean, we've played a fair few venues in between that. It's fair.
What's been your favourite venue?
Oh, that's a question. I love Hackney Empire.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, say, smaller ones that we've done, there was a comedy club we did above a pub in Bristol.
That was brilliant.
That was fantastic.
Which we really enjoyed. Very low ceiling kind of vibe. There was the one in Glasgow.
Oran Moor. which was fantastic.
That was Glasgow or more, yeah.
Is that the Glasgow one?
Yeah, where everyone kept buying us whiskey.
Well, we came back for the second half and there was whiskies and somebody just shouted like, drink it!
Yeah,
or whatever it was, and then a loading of a shotgun, so we quickly put it down.
That was the show where Pete came on stage with he spent the whole prepreparation time in the dressing room cutting up a Celtic and Rangers top and stitching it together half and half, and came on stage wearing it.
Yeah.
And
he brought the city together.
I tried to tell him to not do that. But he did it anyway.
My message was different. Yeah, I just said deny any knowledge of me though, Peter. Once we get out of this building,
I remember him eating pickled herring on stage in Oslo.
Yeah,
oh, that was one, wasn't it?
I think I'd like to just to let listeners know that if they're thinking about coming and they haven't bought a ticket yet, it's a very different show to just a podcast live show. Like, so I see video, and I've been to a couple of other live podcasts.
Then they've been shit, haven't they?
No, I've enjoyed them, but they have been very much like, you know, here is a version of the podcast in front of an audience where laptops out and, you know, it's very kind of tight run time. I know some other people have just done, 15 minutes before a game and then watched a game and then 15 minutes after the game. Ours is like a theatre show. Yeah. It's as in there's elements to it that we're having to rehearse. There's marks we have to hit. There's things we've got planned that are surprising and that will be fun that aren't just about sitting there talking about football.
Yes. Well, right? I mean, when we've been planning it, I was like, can we really do that? Are we actually doing that?
Yeah. My favourite moment, I would say, from live shows we've done would have to be when we played Newcastle, that old opera house.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the same, we were on stage at the same time that Leicester beat Southampton 9-0.
Yeah.
Yes. And we were literally sat up there.
Had a big easy, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a big easy, but people were going, oh,
Yep.
7 is 8, and we were like, we want 10. We want 10. We want 10.
We had a big old easy chant.
We had a big easy, and the whole crowd of the big easy at the end. It was fantastic. It was really good.
If you're worried that you're going to miss some good football on that Friday night, Stoke City at home to Hull, Motherwell in the Premier Sports Cup host Dundee United. So, I mean, we can keep you up to date if you're worried.
Or just watch it on your phone while you're in there.
Watch it on your phone.
Like Pete would.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
and like Pete might, let's be honest.
Footballramblelive.com, everybody.
Yeah.
Tonight, England face Finland. The battle, the derby of Europe. The battle of the crosses. They have a very prominent cross on their flag, don't they? But England are heavy favourites, of course, as they are to get promoted. I want England to get promoted for obvious reasons, but I don't think we've enjoyed an England promotion before, really, have we?
No, of course not.
We
only suffered a relegation.
Exactly, so we need to make amends, and Carsley can take a big step in doing so. Who do you fancy, Jim? If you could whisper in Carsley's ear and tell him to pick someone,
just go, God save our Great.
I'll sing it to you.
Yeah, do that.
Just repeat after me.
Yes.
Who would you fancy?
Assuming he's not been sacked.
I would quite like to see a bit more of Eberechi Eze. Perhaps for Gordon. I really enjoy Anthony Gordon, and I certainly see the value of kind of playing him as much as possible. But also, I think Eze is someone knocking on the door. I like that we saw the Aston Villa Jack Grealish, really, with that kind of freedom. Yeah. I think Eze can probably play in that position as well. To be honest, I'd like to see more of Grealish in that. Wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Rico Lewis somewhere as well.
Yeah, Lewis is the one I wouldn't mind to have a look at. I mean, I know it was exciting to see Alexander-Arnold with those raking passes against Ireland. But I mean, we have to be, when people were going on about that performance, particularly in the first half against Ireland, yeah, absolutely, it's encouraging, and you would hope for more of the same against Finland. But you are going to have maybe different options when you play against the top nations.
Yes, it's also worth remembering it's not a friendly, isn't it? It's the time to experiment if you've wrapped the game up with about 20 minutes to go.
Jim, it's a major tournament.
Indeed, indeed. Madueke is another one. Like to see get some minutes.
So what about you, Luke? I mean, if you're Cars, you probably would go for a similar side.
I think he'll play exactly the same team.
Exactly the same.
I think he will. Yeah, right. I think he'll play exactly the same team. Just because I think if given that he's got players like Palmer, Watkins, Foden not available, he's kind of forced into it. And also, it is a competitive game. I mean, it's not a case of just experimenting for the sake of it. Yeah. I think Jim's probably right that he may bring on some slightly different substitutes, but it depends how the game goes.
I might see John Stones starting something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I suppose he could do that. That might be the one change he may make. But I think from Carsley's point of view, it's his first game as manager at Wembley, right? And so really, you don't Don't
You want a good night.
You don't want to be a quiz question.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You want to be doing the business. And so, as Jim's also said, you earn the right to kind of make changes if you want to after you've gone at it earlier. What I actually like to see England do generally with the players they've got, because I think there's an intimidation factor with England which has been slightly lost because of the Euros, even though they got to the final, weirdly enough.
But you remember that Iceland loss at the start before?
Yeah, but I think what they can afford to do is just actually. Like, I was desperate for them to do this during the Euros every single game. Just go for it early.
It's what they did against Ireland, much more.
Yeah, exactly. So if they could repeat that, I think that would be great. I think England have definitely got the players and the pace and the technique and the skill and the talent to go after teams early.
You want to see some passion, is that what you're saying?
I think they need to start singing louder.
Set the tone, yeah.
Kicking it
Belt
harder.
out the anthem.
Well, what happens, Jim, is you start singing louder, then you start kicking it harder.
Yes.
Then you start scoring more. Then you start passing crisper.
When do the tactics come in?
What?
Okay.
It's not about tactics, it's about players.
tackles.
Sorry about that. England are going to have to deal with Topi Keskinen, the 21-year-old Finnish player, plays for Aberdeen, of course. He has been come to light, and the spotlight's been on him a little bit on social media because he has a tattoo of Wayne Rooney fishing on his arm. Perhaps you've seen that, but there he is, number 10, Wayne Rooney. Casting
That's
his
amazing.
Rooney from behind. But some people would have maybe seen this on.
Who's that on the right?
On socials. On the right.
It's a statue, is it?
Yes, it looks a tiny
bit like Christ the Redeemer.
A little bit like Christ the Redeemer, although the pose is different.
Different, yeah.
So it's clearly not that statue, but either or, Rooney seems to be in quite esteemed company on his arm.
I would. I'd be if I was Wayne Rooney. I'd be very flattered to see that.
Yes.
If someone had a tattoo of you, though, when you met them,
yeah.
How do you think you'd respond
to that? It does depend what you've done, because if it's Wayne Rooney, he would sort of think, well, obviously Man United fans. But if it was Luke, that would be a little bit more freaky.
I think it would be terrible.
Yeah,
for everyone concerned.
Although,
including my ego.
Yeah, I'm going to relay this to Pete.
Yeah,
see what he does. He has some strange ink on his body.
Good news for everyone to know that Timu Puki's still part of the Finnish squad.
Oh, of course.
I don't think he'll start, but he's still in there.
Get him in there. Get him out on Wembley.
I think he's the all-time Finnish top scorer.
No,
and he's got 122 caps while playing. He's currently playing for Minnesota United.
Yeah.
There we go.
And people say, well, of course he's top scorer. Jari Litmanen was a good player.
He was a fantastic player.
You see?
But there's one or two players who play for Minnesota United in this Finnish squad. Chiefly, I think, because there's a big Norwegian community up in that part of the north of the United States.
Right. And the Finns think...
Hence the accent. Of course, that's why they speak in that way.
And the Finns think they're quite similar to us, so we'll go there.
Yeah, Finn, Norwegian, whatever. It's a big... Did I say Norwegian? I meant Scandinavian generally, sorry. That part of the world has a lot of roots in that part of the United States.
Hence the Fargo accent.
Exactly right, Jim, exactly
Which
right.
sounds like, Jim?
I didn't murder nobody, eh?
Yeah, there you go.
Oofda.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon?
That's a phrase they use.
Oh, right. Thank you.
You sounded a bit like a Simpsons character in a Pathé reel from back in the day.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But that's what they sound like. That's what they sound like.
Harry Kane's set to get his 100th cap. What an achievement. He'll become the 10th male player to reach that mark for England. 25 caps off
Thermos Head Shilton.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it.
I'm absolutely desperate for someone to take that record off Shilton, so we haven't got to see him on Sky Sports News anymore.
An outfield player would be particularly good as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, when Rooney scored, I think it was his 50th goal for England. It was certainly a landmark goal, and it was a penalty against Switzerland. He did a sort of, big celebration and so on, and blah, blah, blah. Of course, it would have been a landmark goal if it was the 50th one, not just for the number, but for the achievement of becoming England's top scorer. And Harry Kane runs over to celebrate with him.
Yeah.
It's quite, I was like, oh, yes, of course, they were teammates. Euro 2016, the memories.
Memories live on.
Kane was training in golden boots on Monday. Not the golden boot that he got for finishing joint top scorer at the Euros, of course, with those 3 goals. But Kane is surely going to get a goal because that's what he does. And for a big landmark evening like this.
Any Finns listening to this are going to think that's out of order. Oh, he's confident. Oh, Kane's definitely going to get a goal against us, is he?
So you're not confident that England are going to beat Finland?
This is the derby of Europe.
Have a bit of respect for this fixture, Marcus.
True enough.
Who knows what's going to happen? Could be anything.
Well, I think England are going to win.
I also think England are going to win.
Yeah, so up yours, you doubting little sausage.
So England's record against Finland, you've got to bear that in mind.
I do bear it in mind.
They've never lost.
There we go.
They've won 9 and drawn 2.
Well, there's a first for everything, and we were confident against Iceland pre-Euros.
I'm not suggesting for one second that my research is anywhere near the level it needs to be, but I was surprised when I looked it up and saw that England haven't played Finland since 2001 when they beat them 2-1.
Anfield. David Beckham with the winner.
There we go.
There you are, you see.
How did they get on with them? It's a qualifying for the World Cup, right? How did they get on against them in the other game? Away.
They drew 0-0 away, but it wasn't Sven in charge.
There we go.
Was that right?
It was. It's absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Would you like to hazard a guess?
Go on.
At how England got on in Finland on the 20th of May 1937? The first time England played Finland, in fact.
Yeah, it was quite a low scoring. I think it was a sort of solid professional 2-0 win.
Was it quite a low scoring? Was it in 1937? Yeah, you happy with that?
Go on, what was it?
Jim?
Yeah, that's how I remember it.
Jim,
as well,
just say something with a bit of conviction.
Yeah, 2-1. England.
England won 8-0.
8-0.
Yeah.
Well, I should have thought of that. Big scores.
Yeah.
Back then.
There were big scores back then. Well, let's hope for another 8-0 tonight, everybody.
Yeah.
Rubbing our hands together.
Get that cap record off Chilton, whatever happens. Someone somehow find some games that weren't legitimate games, so we haven't got to look at him doing interviews anymore.
Come on, he was a fine goalkeeper.
Thanks for watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're feeling extra generous, why don't you like this video? Why don't you like this video?